Hi, my name is Vladimir Izmalkov, and we're here to talk about all kinds of different ways to use AI for technical writing. Let's start directly into the topic. Well, here we are. We listed most of the things that I could come up with. Of course, there might be many more of them. Feel free to leave a comment about anything else you want to add to this list. But let's go through each point and discuss how exactly good or bad AI systems, specifically large language models, let's start with text generation. Well, obviously, large language models are quite good at generating some text, right? How good that text is, that's the question. So, in case of technical documentation, which must be accurate, must be straight to the point, must be quite optimized for many different things, and also serve as source of truth, text generation is not that great, especially if we're talking about larger and more sophisticated documents. I'm not saying that AI cannot produce such a big, document out of the blue, and it cannot be like good enough. No, it can happen, but the probability of that is lower for bigger documents and more sophisticated products. That's unfortunate. That's something you can work with. Basically, you can improve the capabilities of AI if you not ask it for to do something that it not supposed to be doing. So generating out of the blue with minimal prompt a very large piece of the documentation is probably a bad idea. But we can technically still generate text with AIs and use this text for documentation. I don't recommend using it without a proper review by a human being, of course, but still it can be done. And the best way to describe it is if you want to build a big statue out of something soft like Play Doh, you kind of need to build a frame first, a very rigid frame that would set, the layout, the shape of it basically, and support it to keep in that shape. And then you can maybe put a Play-Doh on top of it. The same approach can be done here with text generation with AI systems. And the best part of it, you can use the same AI systems to actually help you build this frame, build the idea behind the document, build a layout. Ideally, you should do it in a very supervised way, basically following up on the logic and reviewing it all the way, all the steps at every checkpoint. You can ask AI, let's build such and such document for such and such product. Let's start by planning its layout and overall structure. The produced result might be, subpar or might be quite good depending on the subject, the topic, the product, how popular it is, and you can try just that. If you find the result not being, good enough, you can either revise it manually, which is always an option. I mean, that's the old way we're doing all the text, right? Or you can revise the prompt. You can add details. You can add the requirements. Quite often, I find that if AI generated something you don't like, you can figure out how to modify the prompt to specify what exactly needs to be done differently. Basically, if you can explain it to AI can do much better job at that. You have to be specific. You have to provide context, and context is very important for all AI systems at the moment. So text generation is challenging, and under correct supervision and methodology, it can be done. It can be very helpful, although I'm still not recommending it. Generating text out of the blue is not such a great idea. I personally prefer drafting text first on my own and then maybe proceeding to text rewriting. That's the second point here. Yes, rewriting is something LLMs actually quite good at. Basically, we set the whole idea behind the text, the message we're trying to communicate, the logic behind it, the facts, you name it, and then we ask AI system. It can be any chatbot situation like OpenAI or any other system. We just ask it to rewrite for some specific purpose. Quite often, I find myself asking for it to rewrite for clarity or rewrite in a polite language, depending on the purpose. In technical documentation, of course, polite language is not always the aim here, but you can specify very detailed requirements what actually you're looking for. It can depend on your style guide, on your goal, or what type of document you're doing. For example, if it's a how-to guide, you need a very dry and short text, concise communication. Why not? You should specify that. So that's how you should probably use it, right? You have a draft, you then try to rewrite it in a much better and polished form using AI systems. And they are surprisingly good at that. If you specify the prompt exactly what you want, AIs can do a very good job at that, like surprisingly good even. Their vocabulary is huge. Of course, they sometimes struggle to make it sound like human, but still, the sheer mastery of language is quite good. And I guess it surpasses those who are non-native speakers. And me, as non-native speaker, I quite often find AI systems quite helpful with exactly that, with finding synonyms, with rewriting text in a very different way, and so it would sound better and clearer, I guess. So yeah, it's a great use case, totally recommend. But the trick here is again not to chew out too big of a piece. Basically, go smaller pieces like a sentence, couple sentences, or a paragraph at best. If you rewrite block by block, you always have this ability to see how exactly AI changes the stuff. So you review it thoroughly, of course, between actions, and also you have this ability to be involved into that, not just reviewing the text and figuring out minor details, but also be actively engaged with it, rearranging the blocks, changing a little bit of wording here and there manually. You see, you being engaged with the text much more than just, full rewrite of the whole page and you just reviewing it. So totally recommend for many reasons, including the reason of your own learning experience here. Okay, the third point is summarization. Well, AI LLM systems are surprisingly good at that too. Uh, I wouldn't call these particularly reliable things, so sometimes they can be a little bit divergent from the original material, especially if the material is big. Like on a very big documents, it can miss something or invent some new facts. That's very unfortunate. You have to take that into account. But still, the sheer efficiency of it is great. So if you have hundreds of pages, imagine how much time you would spend reading it and finding some facts in this document. Well, AI can do it much better and much faster, but it can also make mistakes. That's a gamble here, unfortunately. So summarization is good, but to a degree. If you need to make something reliably, like just make sure that there is absolutely no chance that this information somewhere in this document, you can ask AI, but you cannot trust it entirely, like 100%. You have to double check, even through some measures like manual search, like just keyword search through the text. At least that. Ideally, summarization should be used for less important topics. For example, some meeting notes, you can summarize those just to get the gist of it. So getting the gist of it, yeah, AI is quite good, but getting straight facts that are very important and must be true, not so much. You cannot trust it that much. Okay, let's move on to the refactoring. I find myself quite enjoying what AI can do with refactoring with proper prompting. Basically, you can ask it, hey, I have this document, I need to change something significant. Let's do it like, I want to change the spelling from US English to UK English. Well, why not? Or I want to make it so it uses a different tool. Why not? And the best part of it, in this particular application, AI has a lot of context. It has the original document itself, so it has a great idea what the frame of the task is, what was the scope of it. And if you actually do a good job at prompting it for refactoring, explaining what kind of difference you're expecting, there is a very high chance you would be positively surprised with the result. But again, it requires a lot of effort for the review, and you should always control what the changes in your text. Don't trust it blindly. What kind of refactoring you can do? Well, you name it. Of course, the more sophisticated the logic of refactoring, the less of a chance that AI will succeed. But some simple stuff like manual jobs of adjusting terminology, for example, yeah, it can be doing quite good job at that. So, yeah, totally recommend. Some validation. Well, this point is quite tricky to understand. Basically, you can ask AI to double check the text so it doesn't have this, all the terminology or some weird language or some spelling mistakes or anything like that. And AI can just answer you, yeah, it's fine. There is no such problems in there. You can trust it. You can choose to double check after it. Probably should check after it. But still, validation can be done by AI, and AI can produce some results. If it does not produce any results and says that the text is great, it has no problems. It doesn't mean that it's great and has no problems. It just means that AI didn't find anything. Well, if it does find anything, you can actually investigate and figure out whether it's a good catch or not. Like false positives also sometimes happen. But overall, the validation use case is quite good, especially if you use some tools for automation. And that's basically the next step of ours. We can ask AI to create automation for you. I quite enjoy how AI can create automation for documentation. For example, some automated tests to check for spelling, check for some style guide violations. It's really good at writing configs and using some different tools like Veil. Basically, yeah, automating all the manual tasks are also on the list. You can create some CI/CD pipelines with AI quite easily. So actually, just make sure that when you do that, you are not creating any vulnerabilities, you are not opening any API tokens or anything like that to the public. So just be advised that there are some risks involved, but overall, automation nowadays, like infrastructure automation, pipelines and stuff like that, it's very, very good use case for AI LLMs, I think. Next one, explanation. It's actually one of my favorites. I think people not realizing how useful AI systems for this one, especially for technical writers, because yet again, we are not, quite often such an experts as other engineers and other people in our company on the product. So we have to ask. We have to ask our subject matter experts about stuff that we need for documentation. Well, now with AI, we have another source of truth. We can choose to ask AI about this stuff. Just ask about your product. It may know something if the product is public. Ask about terminology. Ask about this technology. Ask about how to apply one thing to another. Actually, AI is quite good at explaining stuff because it just summarizes basically the existing content out of the internet most of the time. Yet it can create mistakes. Can hallucinate, can very convincingly tell you a lie or just make a mistake. Be aware of that, but overall, the explanation serves the purpose of understanding. So inevitably, if you try to understand something, you kind of verify it. The logic behind the explanation, if it seems unclear to you, you should investigate via either AI or other tools. So you will be able to verify, double check. But your understanding is some good way to double check the information that AI provides you. So yeah, searching for understanding from AI of some new technology or how to apply it to your particular use case, I think it's a great way to use AI, especially in sophisticated environments, sophisticated products. For example, I quite actively use it for Terraform, for some other infrastructures code. I can also ask it to explain some concepts from the product I'm documenting, and it can investigate even the existing documentation about the product. It can investigate some documents if I provide them as context. So yeah, the best part is the AIs actually have a very vast knowledge that they were trained on. So basically, they know most of the textual content of the internet nowadays, I guess. So if there is something out there in the internet explaining this stuff, well, you can bet AI already has this in their long-term memory. They've been trained with that. So there is a high chance they will be able to reproduce some of it. Of course, you should double check, but yet again, your own understanding, your own investigation into that, your own trip to understanding this concept will validate the knowledge. And lastly, troubleshooting. I quite enjoy how AI can help you solve any problems like technical with your installation, your environment, or your product. If you encounter any mistakes, errors, just some error message that you are not actually, have not seen it, you have very, little idea of what's going on and why you're having this error message. Well, AI can do a pretty decent job at actually investigating, because sending it the message there and adding some context, what are you trying to do, what are you looking for, it can lead to some very fast insights. Basically, you're using AI as a way of a search tool Of course, it can produce some hallucinations, but yet again, if we are talking about technical investigation on your system, well, quite often it has its own limitations. So if it will hallucinate any commands for you to run, these commands most likely won't run anyway, or if they will, the results will be different from what AI expects. Again, there is some security risk involved with that, but as long as you double checking the commands and not just copy pasting them blindly, you should be fine. I encountered many times when this kind of troubleshooting led to some significant success with fixing the issue at hand, but there were also cases when prolonged investigation through this AI-assisted tools led to just wasting a lot of time. Basically, a lot of complexity, a lot of investigation for not a good reason. Basically, it leads you into some kind of a very deep and dark wood that you don't want to go, and the deeper you go, the less of understanding you have. So you have to trust AI more and more, and it can lead to some subpar results, let's call it like that. Fortunately, modern AIs can do pretty decent job at correcting themselves. So if you send them more and more context about what's going on when you actually run these commands, they should be able to correct themselves. So troubleshooting is a very interesting way to use it. There might be other use cases that AI is very good at, so do send me your suggestions and I will try to update the video, maybe include them in the list. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Oh, and I totally forgot to add this. Feel free to check out other videos of my own. Well, technical writing career overview, the technical writer skill tree, and also guardrails and tips for AI-assisted technical writing. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, or if you're looking for a mentorship, I also have these programs on my website and I have a DP list profile. Feel free to book your free session. Goodbye.